Richard Hermer, Lord Hermer, the Attorney General of this country, best mates with Keir Starmer. Do you know much about him? Let me tell you a few things that maybe you should know. I did a video about him yesterday, either on this page or on my other page. I'm not sure which one it was on. So Richard Hermer is a human rights lawyer who came up through the legal circuit with Keir Starmer. His track record in terms of protecting British interests is probably not as good as it should be. He defended the ISIS Beatles. He's numerous times defended people accused of terrorism against Britain. He defended Shabina Begum, and he was made the Attorney General by Keir Starmer pretty much as soon as Starmer came into power. So it turns out that he's also been involved in the discussions and overseeing the situation of handing back the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. And it turns out that he also was directly involved in the prosecution of Lucy Connolly. So that case, why that case specifically, I don't know, came across his desk. And because he's effectively the boss of the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, he signed off on her being prosecuted and presumably may have also been consulted when she appealed against her sentence, although that should have been a judge's decision. It also turns out, have you heard of an organisation called Hope Not Hate? Hope Not Hate is run by a guy called Nick Lowles. Hope Not Hate are a campaigning left-wing, very left-wing campaign group, supposedly against hate crimes, hatred, and the promotion of a sort of a harmonious society, except that there are lots and lots and lots of stories that they work very closely, hand in glove, with some very well-funded left-wing NGOs. And guess who was one of the patrons and founders of Hope Not Hate? Yeah, you guessed it, good old Richard Hermer, our current Attorney General. And when the Southgate riots were going on, when Lucy Connolly was arrested and convicted, Nick Lowles, who runs Hope Not Hate, put out a tweet basically saying that there had been acid attacks. I believe it was in Middlesbrough. A very indiscreet tweet, and one that turned out to be completely untrue. Very provocative, could very easily have incited violence through the nature of this tweet, and was pretty much within a few days of Lucy Connolly doing her tweet. So that Lucy Connolly got banged up for it, and Nick Lowles, who runs Hope Not Hate, who Richard Hermer was one of the patrons of, didn't even get a knock on the door. Not arrested, not questioned, certainly not convicted of it. Double standards? You might think that. I think that. Have a look at Nick Lowles. Nick Lowles also one of the main antagonists who's constantly attacking, denigrating, and doing his absolute utmost best to get Tommy Robinson nicked all the time. Nick Lowles is on his case 24/7. And Nick Lowles very much in bed with Richard Hermer. Richard Hermer, best pals with Keir Starmer. Join the dots. Join the dots. The Attorney General, the man in charge of the Crown Prosecution Service, human rights lawyer that's represented some very shady characters that are probably not best friends with Britain and best friends with the people of Britain. That's Richard Hermer. And he's Keir Starmer's best pal, and he's now in charge of our legal system. He was the man involved in prosecuting Lucy Connolly. He was the man who probably would have decided not to prosecute Nick Lowles and Hope Not Hate. Is he the man that should be running our country's legal system? Absolutely fucking not. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you think of Richard Hermer.